So as I've done every year for the last 5 years, I'm going to do a forecast for 2024, and I'm also going to review the forecasts that I did last year this time for 2023. Didn't do so well. But before we do that, let's take a look at the last couple weeks of December and see how the year ended up for Orange County real estate. Firstly, interest rates continued to decline, and the 6.61% that we ended last week with was down 1.18% from the year's high 2 months earlier in October. We have to go back to late May of last year to find when rates were at that point. The low for the year was another 1.5% below this, just barely above 6%, and that was in early February. On the supply side, listing quantities continued to go down, and we finished the year at the second lowest inventory in 19 years, the time frame which countywide records became available. It was eclipsed by only where we ended at 2021. We're going to be starting the year with less than 1,700 homes for sale. For the final month of the year, demand, new sales month over month, was down another 10%. That's the lowest end of year number that we've had in 19 years. We ended the year at 53 days expected marketing time, a very strong seller's market. That's 30% lower than the 76 days that we ended last year. So now let's take a look at the actual 2023 numbers compared to with what I forecasted a year ago. Forecast number 1, increased inventory compared to 2022 with a 5,500 unit peak of available listings in August. The results? Dramatically lower inventory than 2022. 54% less than I forecasted. The peak was 2,496 homes, and that happened in early November. Throughout the year, we set records for low inventory since county records became kept. Forecast number 2, muted demand and 6.5% to 8.5% price decreases across the year. What actually happened? Demand was severely muted. Prices did rise, surprising those in 2022. So I did call a slow market. It was just slower than I thought. But the price increases, that I didn't see, and that was a function of inventory, supply and demand. Very low demand, but an incredibly low supply. Forecast number 3, a normal sales cycle. Highest sales in the spring, peak inventory in the summer, and the declining in the fall and the winter. The reality was, it was a very odd cycle. We did see the highest sales in the spring, and that was in early April, but inventory continued to grow in the spring and summer, and it didn't peak until early November. Forecast number 4, 6.5% to 8.5% decrease in sales for about 22,900 total sales units, and a slight increase in distressed sales. The reality? A 14% decrease in sales, 19,700 total, and distressed sales were basically flat. Totally blew this one. Sales numbers, just went like that. Even though I expected a significant decrease, it was even more than I expected. Forecast number 5, lower interest rates, somewhere between 5 and 5.5% by the middle of the year. The reality? Interest rates actually went up. 6.09% was the low in February, and 7.79 was the high in October. We ended the year at 6.61%. So 5 categories, and for the most part, I got them all wrong. The driver was interest rates. I expected that the Fed's increasing rates and trying to slow down the economy would be successful. And I even said it at the time that as soon as rates started to drop, sales activity would start to increase. Well, it never happened. In fact, the Fed kept increasing rates, and the bond market took a total bath, and therefore the mortgage market did. So going forward to 2024, I'm going to keep an eye on that lesson, and I'm going to say this, for 2024, Everything is going to be dependent upon interest rates. Now, we've seen this trickle down since October through the end of the year. The question is it going to moderate or is it going to continue to decrease? That is going to depend on how the economy does. So let's take a look at my 5 forecasts for the market in 2024. Forecast number 1, the quicker the economy cools, the quicker rates will drop. Rates are going to be most likely in the high 6s for the first half of the year, very similar to what we have right now. But sometime in the second half of the year, I do think rates are going to drop into the 5.5 or so range. Now, the wild card for rates is the election. It's the economy stupid is a lesson learned 20 years ago by politicians, and it would not surprise me if some artificial things are done to drive down interest rates to affect the election. Forecast number 2, increased inventory compared to 2022. A 3,000 to 3,500 quantity peak in inventory. Those are historically low numbers. A little bit of an increase over what we saw last year. So although there is going to be an increase, I'm going to be describing every single month a incredibly low inventory situation with not that many homes to sell. Forecast number 3, demand will be subject to rates. The lower the rates drop, the higher demand and the higher sales will be. 3 to 5% home appreciation. Again, supply and demand. Very low supply numbers is going to cause prices to increase, somewhere between 3 to 5% over the course of the year. Forecast number 4, normal sales cycle. Highest sales in the spring, highest inventory in the summer. Forecast number 5, increased sales numbers for 2023. The quicker the rates drop, the more sales there be. I'm going to expect a 10 to 15% increase in sales for the year, ending up somewhere between 21 and 23,000 sales. So those sales numbers are still really low, but I do think it's going to be more than we had last year. And finally, if you're thinking about buying a house in 2024 or selling a house in 2024, I would very much like to talk to you. Over the 20 plus years that I've been doing this, I have developed a very specific system, both for home buyers and for home sellers, that includes very unique strategies that most agents don't even know, let alone use. And I would love to show them to you. You can contact me at 949-413-2371. You can email me at michael@hausamgroup.com. Also, I've set up a landing page on my website that it's sectioned out for home sellers, home buyers, and mortgage borrowers. And there's a series of topics under those 3 headings that I think you'll find very helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and hope you have a great year.